It has to become a story. It has to be a story that other people hear. That story has to be, same thing, institutionalized. The only way to beat institutionalized hatred is to create institutionalized understanding. And so with that, I'd like to hear how your view of how this history stays alive. How do we teach it? How do we move it forward? How do we change modern culture with it?
First of all, you know it's tough to follow a preacher, right? I think the first step for us, of course, is the book itself. One of the things that we're most proud of, the proceeds from the book go to the Syracuse AIDS Scholarship Fund. They also go to the School of Education at Syracuse University. So, as we talked earlier about there's no bitterness, no, there's no bitterness. We were at Syracuse University at a time when it was necessary for someone to speak up. And so that's what we're doing. So one of the things that we're doing is trying to make sure that our story isn't just about what we did, but it's a legacy, but also that it continues to benefit others. Just as the stance that we took in 1970, we knew that it was going to hurt us professionally, also going to hurt us collegiately. However, we did know that it was going to create a much better future for those who came after us. And that was more important to us than our own individual success. So just to piggyback on my earlier comments about looking at our biases and those type of things, I was talking to a Native American sage, and he gave me this parable that really had a big impact on me. And it's what I'm trying to do and trying to bear now. What he said was, all of us have two wolves fighting in our system. We can call one in our heart. One could be good, one could be bad. So the question was, which wolf wins? And the answer is the one that you feed. So with our legacy, we want to feed the positive wolf. We don't want to look at what happened at Syracuse and talk about what didn't occur for us or what didn't happen. We want to talk about what did happen, is that we all got our degrees. We all went on to higher education. We all had successful careers. And why can't I take that legacy and build it up with others, especially the youth, here in our country? And so I don't tell people about what happened to me or the bitter part. I talk about the legacy after that and all the good things that we can do, that we should be doing for each other on a continuous basis.
Thank you so much. You were in your hometown, and if you're from the area, generally people look at Cambridge and think that it's a hotbed of ideas, a hotbed of innovation, a hotbed of inclusion, a hotbed of community building. So how do we take those concepts that seem to be the embodiment of what Cambridge is and move that forward through the story?
Let me say this to that. In terms of the story, as Greg had mentioned, we'd like to, everybody has a story, and there's lots of stories out there. And sometimes for young people, we want to reach the young folks. I know they get impatient. I know myself, you get impatient. You're with an elder, and they're taking forever, and you want to get to the bottom line. But what they're trying to do is teach you. And there's messages in the story. In our story, there's a message in there. Like it's okay to do the right thing. We were some young guys. And we were young now. We were 19, 20 years old. I mean, we didn't know really what life was all about. But because of us coming together, it was an empowering force for us. Doing what was right gave us, in that empowerment, the courage, as Greg has said, to stand up for what's coming before us. I remember there were people that said, especially today, I mean, students and young people, man, you gotta be crazy. All that money you could have got, you could have had this and had that. Now, I worked in the juvenile justice system. They use the N-word. You got to be nuts. I mean, wait, shoot, I would have, but there's more to it. I mean, now being a grandparent, which is something that was never on my radar. I'm thinking maybe I'd be a daddy and a husband, but to be a grandfather? I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. Now you got to think and do things for the future. And as educators, we got to create an environment that's nurturing. I mean, like the home and environment in the community. I mean, the grown-ups, we need to begin to talk and interact with each other. I mean, how do we make it better? I mean, it's the human thing. We're all human. We're all human. All right? Everybody in here bleeds like I bleed. Everybody in there has red blood. All right? You go to the doctors, I mean, and being a math teacher, you go to the doctors, the first thing they do is they put you on the scale. And in my case, my blood pressure goes up because I'm overweight and the doctor's gonna give me help, all right? Then they take my height, all right? Then they go in and they take my pulse and they count 15 seconds because they wanna know what it is for 60. So they multiply it times 4, all right? Then they do the blood pressure, and that's 2 numbers, one over the other. All these are mathematical terms that let them know your vitals. If you're all right or you ain't, pardon my English, you ain't all right, all right? All right? And so we as a community, I'm answering your question, how do we dialogue, open dialogue, deal with our biases to make it better? I mean, engineering is like take what you got and make it better. I mean, we take so much for granted. You travel the world, we go in and flick a switch and we got lights. The toilet flushes. Everybody don't have that. I mean, we were in West Africa, there was a woman with 2 children living in a cardboard box. And we coming out of a 4-star hotel. I mean, it was like my heart was just, I mean, you know, when you buy a refrigerator, you know, the modern appliance, it comes in that big box. She lived in that. I mean, and we got plenty. This is the land of plenty. We can do much better. We can do much better. I'll say it again. We can do much better.
DJ, at our center, we spend all of our day, all of our year on how do we create social justice, really in 2 lanes. We talk about racial justice through sport. We talk about gender equity through sport. And there's an overarching umbrella that is really violence prevention and sort of the empowerment of people to prevent violence. So with that, given that so much was against you at Syracuse, you had an extremely racist coach, you had incredible imbalance between the services you were receiving and the right players, how did you stay in the nonviolent space? And how would you suggest that people do that now to work towards the type of peace we talked about earlier in a way where the collective well-being of all of us is improved? And if we look at that through, in our center we created a new curriculum called Don't Hate the Player. And it really looks at sort of, through a public health lens, what racism does. How many impulse reactions negatively it creates, not only for the population that racism is promulgated upon, but on the entire population. And so with that, how did you stay so nonviolent? How did you not go to physicality? And how would you suggest that people move forward in a way where peace can reign today, but peace can still bring change?
Well, I think this brings together some of the comments that have been made by all of us earlier tonight. We were fortunate to have mentors, big brothers. Older guys, we thought they were OGs. They were only like 28, 29, 32. But as the young people today say, we thought they were OGs. But they told us that it can't get physical. And that's where we had to search our heads and our hearts to make a decision whether we were trying to make real change. Because as each one of us has said, we had the intellect, but we kind of didn't either never tap it, speaking of myself, or didn't tap it fully because that physical thing got us all the applause. And that was fun. But if we were going to make change, we had to make a decision, what was the right thing to do? And whether we were going to listen to men that we respected. Now, fast forward to the day. I think a lot of that mentoring, men in the neighborhood, I think it's missing. But it has to be taught. Ali talked about it. It has to be taught, starting here. And right on up, it has to be taught. And again, the emphasis has to be put on sport as character development. We always got that. It was always a parallel. You can't quit practicing. What are you going to do? This was when we were in grammar school playing football. I know you're tired, but what are you going to do when you're tired of going to work, or you get to work late, everything was a life lesson. Coming out of it. I think we have to get back to that. As opposed to a lot of what we see today is about get to the bank, to the bank, to the bank, to the bank. So I think it has to be taught, and I think men have to stand up and start teaching young men and young women the value of what sport is really about. And the dollars are important now. We didn't have that incentive. When we played sports and the thought of playing pro ball, you still had to have a job in the off season. But now you don't have to have that. But I think it has to be taught then. It's no silver bullet.
Thank you very much. I think one of the things we learned in our center is that when you try to create a solution for people without asking the people, you can't have a solution. If you think you're going to go into a community and change violence and you're not living in that community, you're not going to change it. If you think that the people that are living in poverty and violence can't figure out how to get out of violence and you gave them a voice, you're thinking wrong. And so with that, I want to open up questions to the group. Because at the end of the day, what makes these events great is that history makers get to share their story. But the people that come, people that hear, people that leave the room, people that leave the room around social activism, those are the people that are moving the story forward. So with that, I'd like to ask, see who has a question, and I guess I'll bring you the mic. Go ahead. Oh, you're going to bring them?
I thought you were going to give me the mic.
Oh, I thought you were asking a question.
I am.
All right, so here you go.
Thank you all for your contribution, your sacrifices. I didn't necessarily know about your story. I'm a person born in Cambridge, so thank you for being inspiring, all of you for being inspiring, first of all. Taking you back to your teen years at Syracuse, the foreword is by Jim Brown. Did the Jim Browns, did the Muhammad Ali's, Dan Cassius Clay, did they influence your decisions and maturity in any way? Did they affect your decision to be, did those people, those types of people in that era, make you say, I want to, stand for something? Did those kind of types of actions were happening back then? Did they influence what you do in the early 70s?
That's a good question. I don't know. I know Jim Brown was a major influence throughout the country. I mean, he put Syracuse on the map, Jim Brown. Seeing him play ball on Sundays at the Cleveland Browns and knowing that he went to Syracuse, it kind of influenced. I guess the analogy for me is, for some people that may know, there's Boston College in our area. And there's Boston College before Doug Flutie, and there's Boston College after Doug Flutie. And there's a world of difference. And the same thing with Syracuse. It was Syracuse before Jim Brown, and then was Syracuse after Jim Brown. Now Jim was is an athlete, but on the other side, well, several sides from Jim. But there's one thing that really impressed me, was he tried to organize athletes and entertainers to pool their resources to make a difference. And he had an organization called the BEU, the Black Economic Union. And it just dawned on me as you reflect and think on things. Be you. B-E-U. Be you. Be the best that you can be.
I think every right here. Ms. Monroe, Reverend Monroe. Oh, I see.
I was quite surprised to see the subject of the title of tonight's talk, because I saw my first college football game in 1950, which is the year that most of you were born, I suspect. And it was at Fitton Field in Worcester. Syracuse was coached by Schwarzwalder, and the running star of the game was Bobby Young. You know Bobby Young from Nashville? He was a black guy, and he was the star of the Syracuse team. And Schwarzwalder, throughout his career, not only recruited the greatest football player of all time, but several of the other greatest football players of all time. Little, Davis, in addition to Jim Brown, and every year he had tremendous black players. And so I'm shocked to hear that he was abusing black players. And so my question to you is, did Jimmy Brown and the others who spoke to you, did they tell you this guy's a racist, but he's the only show in town? Why is it that this man was able to get so many? He got the best black players, at least east of Mississippi, for 20 or 30 years. How was he able to do that if he was such an abusive man? That's my first question. The second is, why aren't you the Syracuse 38? What did all the white players and what did the other black players, what did they say to you? Because, you know, last year, I think it was University of Mississippi was able to stop a game because the whole team got together. Why didn't the whole team get together? And thirdly, did you contribute to Schwarzwalder's retirement? I remember he retired pretty quickly at some point, and I was wondering if it had anything to do with what you did. And finally, Syracuse has never had a black head coach, I don't think.
You got one now.
You got one now.
They do not. Okay.
Sir, you need to look at the book.
But basically, how is Schwarzwalder able to get people of your quality to come to the school?
First of all, I want to make sure that we dispel one myth. Ben Schwarzwalder did not recruit Jim Brown to play football at Syracuse. Jim Brown got to Syracuse because some alumni on Long Island who knew that he was a great lacrosse player, right, decided they wanted Jim to go to the #1 school in the country that was playing lacrosse, which was Syracuse University, their alma mater. Jim was denied a lacrosse scholarship. Jim was also denied a football scholarship. The alumni pooled their money together to get Jim in school. Jim was cut from the freshman football team. Jim was cut from the basketball team. Jim was cut from the baseball team. So when we say that Ben recruited Jim, that's not what happened. And actually, Jim didn't play until after 3 guys in front of him got hurt. Then Jim got a chance to play and then played. That's all in the book. Bernie Custis, right? One of the first black quarterbacks in NCAA, played at Syracuse, all right? Yes, Coach Schwarzwalder recruited a lot of black athletes, all right? But that wasn't the issue of recruiting black athletes. It was the culture that was going on at Syracuse University. I can speak to a particular conversation I had with Ben. In 1970, Cornell University and some other universities, I think might be even Harvard, might have been one of the first schools to have a Black Studies program. We wanted to do the same thing at Syracuse. Some students got together and we're going to have a meeting with one of the deans. I was asked to attend the meeting with those students. I attended the meeting with those students. It was just the fact that we were all there together looking to get a Black Studies program. 2 days later, I get a call from the coach's office saying that the coach would like to see me. I think nothing of it. I'm assuming that spring practice is around the corner, that he wants to make sure I'm getting in shape and that I'm ready for spring practice. And so I go down to the coach's office. I sit in the coach's office. He closes the door. He looks down at me through his glasses and says, "What's this I hear about you and this black shit?" And I said, "Coach, what?" He said, what's this black shit?" I said, "Oh, you're talking about the Black Studies program?" I said, "Yeah, I attended a meeting. I thought that it would be a good idea. Cornell has it, some other schools have it, and I think it'd be a great thing for Syracuse." So some students asked me to participate, so I did. He says, "Well, Alan, you got a decision to make. Do you want to be black or do you want to be a football player?" Now that was kind of a dilemma. Coach, I'm going to be black all my life, but I'm only going to be a football player for a short period of time, so. And again, that has nothing to do with Ben recruiting, because Ben recruited me also, all right? It had to do with what was going on at the time at the university, the institutional racism that was there. And so that's just one example. And went beyond that. When you ask about what were the other white ball players doing at the time, well, quite frankly, they felt offended that 8 African American students and athletes would take or had the nerve, I guess, to boycott football without seeking their permission. And for us it was, well, I don't need permission to stand up for my rights. All right? I don't need permission for that. And so, no, they did not participate with us in the boycott. And as we sit here and talk, I have no malice toward Ben Schwartzwalder. Ben Schwartzwalder was also a product of his time. If you read the book, his background, he was from West Virginia. Ben also served in a segregated army. Right? He was a captain, he was a war hero, and I applaud him for that. His efforts in World War II made it possible for me to boycott. So I have no malice toward Ben Schwartzwalder, the man. Right? My issue was with Ben Schwartzwalder, right, who helped perpetuate institutional racism. And that's where we came apart. So.
Well, let me just answer, because you did ask the question, were we the demise of Ben Schwartzwalder? Ben Schwartzwalder was his own demise. And what I'm going to say to you is this here. Yeah, the boycott affected that. But in the place of, also in recruiting, Ben recruited a number of black all-star athletes, but he recruited them one at a time. Okay? One at a time. You had one every 4 years. You didn't have 5 and 6 at a time. You had one every 4 years. Okay? So, yeah, he did break the barrier, but he was cautious about how he broke that barrier. Okay? Singh didn't go to Maryland because they found out he wasn't Indian, he was black. Maryland just apologized several years for doing that. So the other piece is, when Ben retired, Ben was asked to retire by the university. He had 2 options: be fired or retire. Because what happened is, most schools use the Syracuse 8 against Syracuse by recruiting black ball players. When a black ball player said he was going to Syracuse, The coaches said, why would you go there? Didn't you see what they did to the Syracuse 8? That was a blanket over them now. Ben had to go. People don't know this. As a matter of fact, we just heard this recently. When they built the Carrier Dome, Ben Swartzwell was at that dedication. Ben came back with a couple of people and Dr. Rick Wright. And when he said to Dr. Wright, he told us, what, 2 years ago when we did the book signing? He said, Ben asked him the question. He said to him, Dr. Wright, I handled 1970 wrong. He knew he could have fixed that. But his stubbornness was not going to allow that to happen. That's what we talk about change. He didn't want to own up. Because Jim Brown said to Swartzwell, you need to sit down and listen to these young men because they're making a lot of sense. No, I don't have to listen to no one. Ben was his own demise.
Before you ask your question, I just want to also say, since we brought up Jim Brown, and because Greg gave such a good history about how Jim got recruited at Syracuse, institutionalized racism was so great that Jim couldn't play basketball, couldn't play football, couldn't play baseball, and was recruited only for lacrosse because Syracuse was a lacrosse power. People should know that they actually changed the rules in lacrosse because Jim dominated the game so much. So not only was institutional racism so strong that he couldn't play the 3 other sports, but Jim Brown used to hold the stick close to him and ask anybody to come get it. And nobody wanted to come get it. So he scored at will, whenever he wanted. So then there became a rule about how long that stick had to be.
You can't get right.
But you can't lock it. Right, you couldn't lock it into your body.
You can't lock it to your body.
So we call that the Jim Brown rule.
The Jim Brown rule. So anyway, sorry to cut your question off. Go ahead.
So, can you hear me? Yes. Gentlemen, your story is inspiring to every athlete in the NCAA, certainly. We are inspired by your story. As to information, Bill Littlefield has a show called It's Only a Game, and he mentions every week the distortedness of the NCAA in earning billions of dollars on the backs of athletes in the United States and not giving those athletes insurance or stipend for the sacrifices they make. Would you be willing to say something to this problem with the NCAA and the fact that the athletes do not profit from the efforts they make in their sports?
Absolutely.
I would just say very quickly, I mean, there's a lot that you can speak in relationship to that question. But to be frank with you, in real, it's just modern day slavery. By another name. Okay? I mean, when these young people, I mean, we got $15 a month at Syracuse. It was called laundry money. We got a $15 check for laundry. Okay? That was the gimmick. Now, you can do a lot with $15.
Authorized with the NCAA.
Yeah, that was authorized, right. So, I mean, I think Shabazz Napier for UConn exposed them big time. When he talk about go to bed hungry, he going, traveling around this country, get back to his campus, can't get a meal. But they making millions off of these young men. I mean, it's a tragedy. I thought something was going to happen when who was trying? Northwestern was trying to unionize. I thought, yeah, it was going to finally happen. that fell apart. And then, you know, with Kareem is doing, because most athletes don't read their letter of intent. That little small print, we own your likeness. They don't even know it's in there because they don't read it. So what you have right now is, I mean, you've seen a number of photographs where they showed the young men getting ready to do their whatever it may be. They got them stripped down to their shorts and stuff. It's slavery. Only thing missing is the chains around their necks and their ankles. So, you know, once again, it's sad. I mean, it's so sad that this is supposed to be a modern society. It's still in the cave. Because because you're taking a human being and you're making money off of another human being, and it doesn't faze you at all. Man, I'm getting sick right now. Because it's sad that we have to even be talking about this today. And it's more prevalent today because there's so much money now. And all you do, and then that makes it even worse, these kids ain't getting their degrees. They can't come out here, can't bag groceries. You gotta have at least something to be able to count change. They can't count change either. So I mean, you can see it's just modern day slavery. Y'all can have, I can't have
it. Just to piggyback on John's comment, I live in Chicago, and when the Northwestern players were starting to unionize, I was mentoring a young man who was on the Northwestern team. And I can tell you that it was exactly what you think, all right? The players who were on the team who had to vote, all right, who were still left on the team, the guys that were leaving, yeah, they were okay with the union. But the coaches and the athletic department made it pretty plain for anyone else who was interested in being in a union, there really wasn't a place for you at Northwestern University if you wanted to play and continue your education there. Now, as subtle as it was, but that's what happened. That's why the vote failed. I mean, the players were intimidated and wouldn't vote.
You should, if you're interested in that topic, probably one of the most leading African-American historians in the country, Taylor Branch, wrote an economic article about this in the Atlantic Monthly, probably 2 or 3 years back. And he actually shows the multi-million-dollar industry that it is and how little the dollar goes to the student. And it's one of the best reads ever about just economic policy promulgated where the people that are doing the labor aren't getting the reward. So,
Ben, I think you have a lady over here. On the right.
Good evening, fellas. I can't begin to tell you what a joy it is to sit here and meet 4 of the famous 8. I'm from New York, and knew about you guys. We would read about you in the Amsterdam News, and it certainly was talk in the neighborhood. And so much talk that when one of our best football players was thinking about going to Syracuse, our guidance counselor said, go to Penn State. You knew what happened at Syracuse. So indeed, that legacy certainly veered some of our best and brightest to another school instead of Syracuse. You certainly are an anomaly because not only did you graduate, did you play the game, but you certainly also graduated with a degree here, which that to me is. So my question to you, because I must say that you certainly at this point answered a lot of my questions about it being a modern day, certainly plantation. What's very, very interesting is about how one keeps history alive here, which is why, in many ways, I give tremendous kudos to our mayor, who's a history buff, but also knows the importance of keeping these kinds of stories alive.
Given the fact that in reality, so few of us really do know this story, how have you kept it alive? How will you keep it alive?
As I said earlier, one of the ways we're doing it, of course, is through our scholarship fund. And we have a Syracuse 8 scholarship fund through the proceeds of the book. There's also, at Syracuse University, they have a athletic ceremony each year, it's more like on the lines of the ESPYs. They call it the CUSE Awards. At the CUSE Awards each year, there's an award given out for courage. And it's called the Syracuse 8 Courage Award. So at Syracuse, our story has been perpetuated. Things that we're doing today, like right now, is how we're helping to carry that story forward and reach people. And again, I also applaud your mayor, for having us here. I mean, this is just awesome to be here among you, in Ali's hometown, here in the mayor's office, talking about our story. I mean, this is awesome. And so it's not with, some mass production, but it's talking with people like you, all right, who are able to tell our story to someone else and get someone else interested, that we plan on perpetuating the story. And I, jump in the back, I'm not picking on you, but I had one thought when we were talking about Ben. And this goes across the entire team, all right? While we were at Syracuse, we talked about the medical treatment. Right? I want to give you a fact, and you tell me if your son or child was playing at Syracuse and was playing for this coach, if you would approve of him hiring a gynecologist as the team doctor. Our team doctor while we were at Syracuse was a gynecologist. He wasn't orthopedic. So when we talk about the legacy of a coach, it goes beyond the wins and losses, right? It goes about, how do you care for your players? You recruit me. I would like to leave the university in the same physical condition that I left the university. And I don't believe a gynecologist would be the best person to tell me or help me do that.
Let me tell you, we all had some experiences. When you walked into that room, I walked in one time and I slowly backed out because I realized he didn't know what he was doing, okay? But to answer your question in relationship to...
She's talking about the stirrups.
Yeah, I knew she talking about... No, I didn't know. I wasn't on no stirrups either. How do we move this story forward? Events like this. We've been to Washington, New York. We've been to Syracuse. We've been to with Richmond. I mean, so we've traveled. We've done them in our hometown. I've been to the libraries in my hometown as well. You have to tell the story, but you also hope to get invited to tell the story. So, I mean, your mayor here, it was 6 months ago, we was at his retirement party, Ali's, and some nice stories got told about him, that he finally gave up that $10. But that's how we function. But we also do cable. We do shows. A lot of the stuff that you see now have been recorded at previous programs and things like that. So, we hope that you and others will spread the word, and those who read the book can get inspired by it. Matter of fact, we just did a show on 22 City. Yeah, we just did a show there. So that's how we're gonna hopefully continue to promote history, because this is history.
And also, let me add to it, we hope you invite us back to go to the high school. All right? We want to go to the high
And I will also add, tomorrow, we're going to meet with Dan to talk about how our story can become part of a curriculum. You know, how we can tell our story through a curriculum for education.
You have two people way in the back.
Need microphone?
Without a mic.
Oh, you got a microphone? Yeah.
I raised my hand after he spoke. He was the first one. I just want to say to John, and I want to say to Greg and Dana, how impressed I am to hear this story, and of course my cousin.
Oh, don't forget him.
I'll hear about it later. You know, you made more than a contribution. Everyone talks about the contribution that you made. You made more than a contribution. You are men of principle, you are men of conviction, and you made a commitment. This is what I'm taking from what you did. There's a difference between contribution and commitment. I think everyone knows what the difference is between contribution and commitment. A chicken makes a contribution, but the pig makes the commitment. You all sacrificed your career, sacrificed everything that no athlete that I would know of today, when I see the culture of the sports today, would ever think about doing. And I can see that had the Syracuse 9 had progressed and become professional athletes, what the NFL would have been today if they had the NFL 9. Because these are the kind of men that you are. I see you're men of principle, you still have the same passion, and I'm going to talk about you. And I'm hoping that this is a story that will continue to grow. All of our athletes need to know this. Not only all our athletes, but all of our people need to know this, because they need to see what commitment does. We can make contributions. I'm sure we all have made contributions in our several communities and our families and so forth, but we need men of commitment. And I want to thank you for the commitment that you've made.
Thank you.
We do another one? Okay. Way in the back.
I took it off.
Here you go.
We have about 5 or 10 more minutes, so before, we're going to take a couple more questions, after which we'd like each of these gentlemen to tell us one thing that they want us to know before they leave this room. But let's take 2 more questions at least. So, young lady.
Hi. My family is an immigrant family. When they came here, their attitude was get along and go along to get along. So your story is so intriguing to me, because I know if it had been me, my parents would kick my ass. Even if it was a horrible situation, my parents were just, as immigrants, not wanting to be noticed, even if there were social injustices in the world. So I thank you for what you did. Now in this day and age, there's a lot of activism starting to happen, and again, my family's starting to feel this fear, even though they're American citizens now. They're like, go along to get along, go along to get along. And what I want to ask you guys is, did your family have fear for you? Did you have any fear going on campus? I need courage. I need to hear what you're saying to make my older immigrant relatives just calm the F down with everything that's going on in the world, and just, your story's amazing. And I'm from New York originally, so that's it. Talk about the truck driver.
So to answer your question, young lady, imagine this. Most of us were first generation college.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about football. My old grandmother, back in the neighborhood, she wasn't bragging about her grandson playing football, because that was playing. What she bragged about was, my grandbaby goes to college. So, you're fortunate to have parents who live and die with you, and your children, and the future. We had that as well. They were so concerned, my parents, speak for myself, my parents were so concerned that I was going to lose that scholarship. Had to explain to them, I had to promise to my father that no matter what happened, I'd graduate from college. Because like these guys, after I'd been there for a semester, oh, I can do this, academic. Yeah, they were concerned I was going to lose that scholarship. So I can remember the conversation I had with my father. He called me on the phone and, he said, "What are you doing?" And I went on about all the inequities, all the racism. He let me finish. He said, "Daniel, you telling me I've already lived it? You in college. You listen to me. When you're 40, you're going to need that college degree." Click. Your discussion. So at any rate, yeah, there were concerns and justified, and good luck with trying to get your parents off that.
Thank you.
My question is very much related, which is just how did you have the courage to start, and how did you have the courage to continue? And it may be an individual answer for all of you, but that's what we're all trying to get at. Like, how did you have that courage?
Mine was, I think we're all similar in relationship to the decision that we had to make. As I told you earlier, I was a mama's boy. And as Dana indicated, we all were first to go to college. My mother was from Montgomery, Alabama. I was born in the North. Matter of fact, I've never been to our hometown. Even then, she feared that if I went, I would die because I would not understand. That question came forth. I made a phone call from my dorm, and I called home and I said to my mother, I said, "These people crazy up here. And I don't know what I'm gonna do." But a mother's wisdom, not a conversation. Then come home. I said, "What?" She said, "Then come home." If I didn't feel safe there, I could feel safe at home. My uncle came in and she was talking, he told my mother, he said to me, "I'll be up there tomorrow to pick you up." I hung the phone up, took me 5 minutes to recognize. I called home and said, "I'm not coming." Because it was my junior year, it was these guys' senior year. It was my junior year. I knew if I left, I would never come back, nor would I get my degree. Took 5 minutes though. And once I called back and said, "I'm not coming," that was the end of the conversation. But I had heard what I didn't think I was going to hear. Come on.
And I think all of our shows are similar to that. Now, let me just briefly answer a question. I'll take yours. No, I just want to finish.
He wants to finish.
Yeah. When you ask about, where did we find the courage? Yes, it was in talking with our parents. Me, it was with talking with my father. And when we talked about the situation, he said, "Well, son, I can't tell you what to do. You're going to have to make a man's decision, because whatever decision you make, you're going to live with for the rest of your life. And I can't make that decision for you." But my father had one mantra as we were growing up. He said, "You never quit anything that you start. Never quit anything that you start." And I knew after that conversation, when my father said I had to make a man's decision, I knew what decision he wanted me to make. That you can't quit, son. You know, we don't quit. And I also knew that I had the support of these brothers here also. On my own, I don't know. But with the support of my family and with support of my friends, we talked about friends and real friends, and he talked about commitment. I knew that if I decided this, if I had the courage to stay, that I was staying with other committed brothers who were committed to the same ideal I was. And that made it a lot easier. I know, gentlemen.
This is not a question, but Ali hired me 24 years ago, and he's one of the most Afrocentric pro-education brothers I have ever met.
Way up in the back, Sister Pat.
Last question?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say thank you to the mayor, Mr. D. Pasquale, and the city of Cambridge for inviting the Syracuse Aid to be here to speak to us tonight. I would love very much for them to come back here and to speak to the young folks, because they don't know.
Yeah.
Really and truly. And I think really that they should hear this and be aware. A lot of them graduating, going on to school, what can I say? It's really something, and they really should hear this. So thank you for being here, Ali. Thank you. I remember I know his mama, his grandmother. I know New Hampshire. Okay, we won't even go there. All right, we'll talk afterwards.
And she's a Darton. She's a Darton.
One of the many. Okay, so thank you again. Again, do come back.
It's getting, we're trying.
Yeah, trying to close.
Go ahead.
Hopefully this will close up. A couple of comments. When you were saying how Flutie changed BC and how Jim Brown changed Syracuse, I would like to add Patrick Ewing changed Georgetown. And we'll continue to do that in his new position. I think it ought to be said as part of the legacy, not just to brag, but to make the point you all are making. We see that happening right now in that troubled school program, and I think that was an important part of all this. I was thinking about that a lot. The one thing that I wanted to say about the city, to bring it back to the city, and important about bringing it back to the youth, as the city gentrifies and as the neighborhoods change, I would like to remark that one of the places that still has the old Cambridge happening in the way we're talking village and community is through the youth athletic programs. If you go to the playing fields, if you go to Hoyt, or you go to, all the different playing fields on a Saturday or Sunday, throughout all the years, or throughout the season of the year, you will see the soccer team, or the football team, or the baseball teams, and some of the people in this room are part of making that thing happen. And what I'm suggesting is how important you're talking about how social justice, Dan, is important, and how you can combine that with athleticism. I think there's tons of work that can be done. This place is ripe for continuing this story at the high school, at the middle school, and what they now call the upper school. So it really should be happening, and it should be happening through all those centers, and because the lessons are really loud and clear. This is a question, and I'm not quite sure how to frame this. What happened to you all because of your courage and your conviction, the end of your sort of athletic career? I mean, I find it ironic that you all have been such great successes in the life that you pursued afterwards. And given the racism that was pervasive in pro football at the time and continued college football, I mean, I'm thinking as I was reading at home, preparing to come to this thing and seeing all your stories, and look at these, look where these guys are, look what they've done, look what they've achieved. would there have been that much success, not because of your talent, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, not because your talent couldn't have, but the capacity not to be chosen, it's almost ironic, I just want you to sort of maybe comment on that it might have been, had this never happened and you've gone on to a fledgling career, given what the lack of opportunities for your capacity to get played out, might not have been such a great turnout. Am I framing it right? You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I mean, not to reward the institution.
Our experience, I'll speak for me. Our experience with Syracuse 8 was only a primer for what was to come. I was 35 years in corporate life, and that's full contact with no pads. And most of that time, now I got a couple of crumb snatchers I got to feed. Syracuse 80 was just me. So that wasn't the end of something. For me, the Syracuse 80 experience wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something. A life of challenges. But I was up to it. I felt I was up to it. Because what doesn't kill you makes you strong.
Wants to ask I hope to ask a question, so I'd like these gentlemen, if they are willing to make closing remarks. So, your question.
I'm going to ask one last question. I met you guys before.
Yeah.
Big fan, Syracuse alumni. Big reason why I ended up going to Syracuse, so thank you. So I read your book twice now, and it's my second event with you guys. And I did have a question. I think I know the answer just based on what I've read about you guys. But if you could go back knowing what you know now, would you still have done what you did?
Wants to jump in?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
All right. Gentlemen, do you want to round this up? Is there anything that you want to say that we did not get to? No?
I think I want to say as a parent, this is our second time that we've had it, and I'm appreciative of the support that Leaf gets from his family. They all show, and the family of Cambridge is here, his own family is here, and it's a tribute to these men, their manhood, and the brand of manhood that they wear. Allegiance to a family, allegiance to a community, allegiance to social justice, allegiance to betterment. With that, I think go ahead, Dan.
Just one comment. Syracuse University is a wonderful and a great university. So I don't want there to be any misconceptions about that. Recommend Syracuse University wholeheartedly.
So as we close out this evening, I wanted to say a few thank yous and a few acknowledgments. I want to acknowledge my colleagues from the school committee that joined us, Alfred Fantini, Mr. Richard Harden. I want to thank all of you in the audience for coming and being here this evening. I want to thank you for your, Ben, for moderating. You're a wealth of knowledge. I enjoy talking to you all the time. We could talk all night, but we're not going to talk all night. But in particular, I want to thank John and Greg and Ali and Dana for your courage, for standing up when you could have sat down, from turning away when you were asked to stay, saying I can do it someplace else, for making a way for us, as someone of you said, standing in that door so others could come through it. We want to thank you. So if you gentlemen could come up here just for a moment, please. John, Greg, Ali, and Dana. On behalf of the city of Cambridge, I just want to give you a small token of our appreciation. So we would like to present each of you with the key to the city. Wow. And this key is for all the doors that you have opened for other people. getting my book signed right now. The gentlemen are going to go into the mayor's parlor, so please, there's still some refreshments left. Please purchase a book and let these gentlemen sign your book. Like Sister Pat said, we're going to try to have them come back to us again. They will then go into the parlor and they'll be there so that they can sign your book. I also want to say a special thank you for Iman Kali, Mahdi. He donated books so that each one of the Cambridge Public Library branches will have a copy of those that are taken care of. Iman, I want to thank you so very, very much. Thank you all for coming and have a very, very good night.